everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Pete Carroll Was Right, the confusingly named Alabama football live video show. As always, it's Carter, Ben, and Mitch here to talk Alabama football with you. Coming off a generally undramatic win against Arkansas and moving into the third Saturday in October, which, it always pleases me when it's actually on the third Saturday in October, because there was a good long stretch there when it was usually on the fourth Saturday, which was obnoxious. But before we get started, I do just want to say I hate Tennessee, man, because first of all, it's Tennessee, and they low down, they dirty, they some snitches. I hate Philip Fulmer. I hate Neyland Stadium. It looked like a garbage truck worker convention. I really just don't like Tennessee. I can't stress that enough.
What do you think that guy thinks of the fact that it's a 36-point spread this week?
I bet he's pretty happy about it. AL.com did a whole feature on him a couple years ago where they tracked him down and interviewed him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I still hate Tennessee.
My hatred hasn't waned."
Yeah. So any standout thoughts on that? We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on either game this week, just because there's not a whole lot to say about either one. That's kind of been a theme this season. But any particular thoughts about Arkansas?
Well, I don't know. If you want to start with the offense, if Alabama can run at will, it sets up everything, right? And they basically ran it well. The one thing that was nice, Damian really, that was one of the best games that I've seen from Damian in terms of the total package, right? That first touchdown, you see his incredible speed, which is really an underrated part of his game, is his breakaway speed. And I think Mitch, what did you say?
Honey buns, man.
Yeah, honey buns, right? He's dropped the honey buns. Mitch made a point in the past that he saw, other than Adoree running him down from behind, there's not a whole lot of other people that we've seen run him down, and I think that's true. It's not the best part of his game, but it's a good part of his game, right? Yeah. Is his speed, but it's so much more though. He ran so powerfully. Yeah. That was his power. That was as much power as I've ever seen Damian play with. Obviously, the second touchdown run stands out as far as his strength, but there was a lot of other plays too where he was running through tackles and stuff.
Well, and just we've talked about the vision and the agility plenty before, but just on the big play, the touchdown first play from scrimmage, the whole it's outside zone and the whole thing's flowing one way, and he's all the way over there back behind the offensive line with all these guys in front of him, and basically sees the gap open up out of the corner of his vision and just changes direction, cuts, hits the hole, and then accelerates, clears the – I love to watch a guy and the classic example of this would be Derrick Henry in the 2013 Sugar Bowl. I love to see a running back split the safeties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very the more I watch him, he's the more I watch Damian, I really am reminded of an Eddie Lacy type with more speed.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of more speed and not quite as strong, right? But his vision, his sort of his quick cuts. The play that the opening touchdown there against Missouri against Arkansas was it was a carbon copy of that run that Lacy had to open the game on the first play against Missouri in his final year here. It's a very, 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 very similar players, I think.
Yeah.
The other backs played well too.
Yeah, Bo finally broke off some longer runs, which was nice. I think, before this week, his longest run on the season was 9 yards.
Yep.
He broke off some longer ones. He's the hype for him this season in terms of what he was actually going to produce may have been a little overstated, but Bo's still a really, really, really good back. I think the story of the season has just been a combination of both improvement and the fact that people didn't properly appreciate how good Damian had been.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest thing.
It's much more story of that. And like, I don't think we want to create the impression that like Bo has been a disappointment.
Right. Right. I agree. Well, what do you think, Mitch, about?
Yeah, and I always try to just frame it like we talked about last week, and just like when is he getting carries this year as opposed to last year?
Right. Right.
Yeah, I thought Jacobs looked pretty good when he got the ball this week.
What do you? Let me ask you guys this. Let me. What do you guys think? Let's say in a hypothetical that this was the exact same Alabama roster, but Damian wasn't here. Everything else was the same. So Bo was the lead back, Jacobs was the second guy, Najee was the third. Everybody just moves up a rung.
Mhm.
Yep.
What kind of season would Bo be having to date? How different would it be than Damian? Let's say Bo's getting 60% of the carries, and he's the main guy.
Like a
I guess because what I'm trying to get at is we told you, Mitch, you bring up the idea about him when is he getting his carries this year relative to last year. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that like is Bo really just the kind of guy who's going to come in late and just hammer you when you're a little bit worn down, or can he carry a full load?
Well, I guess it's just more like tempering expectations, because what we saw
Well,
from
right.
him last
So-
year was just like
So he wasn't going to average like 7 yards a carry or whatever he was
Yeah.
averaging last year. I understand that, but I guess I'm just sort of starting to question the idea of like what sort of feature back would he be?
I mean,
Okay.
I feel pretty confident that he could be the feature back. I mean, I'm not sure.
It's interesting that we wouldn't have before the season started. This wouldn't have even been a question,
Yeah.
right? We would have said 100%. That's fine. Damian got hurt out for the year. Like that would suck. I'd feel terrible for Damian. We know that would hurt a little bit, but we'd also be like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you know what? We still got Bo. Bo's gonna run all over you. It's interesting that it's just changed a little bit because I think it's just the narrative about Bo. How much is it just that Damian has proven to be as good as he's been, and how much is Bo struggling? That's what I can't quite come to. I can't quite fully form my opinion on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can pretty easily say that Bo at least has the capability to sort of be a lead. I mean, what in the stretch late down the season, I mean, Damian, I mean, he was getting like 20 carries a game, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, Bo was incredible against Clemson and Washington in the playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great.
Yeah, that the one of his touchdown runs against Washington, that one where he kind of
the long one, yeah.
like a 25 yard or something like that. That was incredible.
Yeah. But I thought he was even more impressive against Clemson, mostly because Clemson was a lot tougher challenge, and they forced Bo to be a lot more physical, and they forced him to really run harder. Is Bo's main issue that he doesn't create easy, non-physical yards for himself? Like if the play isn't really well blocked, he's gonna have to run through somebody in order to make yards.
Or even sometimes when it is well blocked, I mean, he may still just kind of want to run through somebody rather than kind of go around them.
Right.
He doesn't like. He either needs like if he gets a hole, he's like a big hole, he's gone.
Well, then he's through it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's always going to create yards. He's always going to create yards after contact, but he just doesn't. I think that it's something you see with Damian, and I think you see it a lot from really elite like NFL backs, is that they kind of create space for themselves,
right?
And he doesn't really do that as much.
And create space. Just to be clear, like we're not just talking about creating space as in like making a guy miss. but creating spaces in like pressing holes, moving linebackers with your direction, then cutting back into different holes. It's not always like free rusher comes at you, make a move and like leave him behind. Like it's a lot more than that. And I agree. It's a real when you juxtapose Damian and Bo, you really do see one back that is very good at doing that and another back who isn't really quite as good at doing that. So I guess the question, and I know we talked about this previously, but like, well, how does that inform your usage of Bo as the season progresses? Like, would you save, like, what if you saved his carries for later in the game when he might be most effective? What if you increase Jacob's workload in the first half, decrease Bo's workload in the first half?
Yeah.
Say you only give Bo 5 carries in the first half, keep him as fresh as possible, and then really use him heavily in the second half and just dominate teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think even then you would want to get him some touches, and particularly I like them getting him the ball on screens and swing passes early in the game, just because that kind of sets him up in space where he can either run through or around one guy,
right?
And kind of create the potential for a big play that way. But I think in terms of getting traditional carries, yeah, I mean it's definitely something to think about in terms of if you want to move him to those corners. The one thing I will say is that I do think Bo excels as a main back on gap runs, on like power and counter, that sort of thing. And I kind of think that's what this offensive line is better at. Like take Lester Cotton, for example. You know, at this point he kind of is what he is. He's gonna, if you're running zone, he's gonna miss a block here or there. You're pass protecting, he's gonna miss an assignment here and there. If you tell him to pull around and knock somebody's head off,
right,
he's gonna pull around and knock somebody's head off.
Right. If you're right, that's such a great point. Lester, when he's able to play fast, have clear assignment, and just be physical, that's when he's clearly like that's just strongest.
Like that too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's how Bo excels. So in as much as you want to make that part of your offense, I don't think you hurt yourself. Like, is Bo really going to be fresher if he gets 5 or 6 carries in the first half as opposed to none? Like, how much of a difference?
Yeah, I don't want to give him none. I agree with that.
So I do think you still want to get him involved, especially because he just has such big playability.
Right.
If you can get him in open space, like he's gonna get you big chunks. But I definitely think it's a good idea to kind of create this dichotomy where Damian's a guy that you kind of want out there more against a fresher defense, and then Bo can be kind of the hammer, the finisher.
Yeah, I agree, and I really didn't think that we were going to be sitting here this time of year saying something like that. But it's like such like a simple, almost like too simple a strategy in a sense, right? It's very it's very I don't know. It's just like it seems like it's the kind of strategy that somebody who like who hasn't watched a lot of football, but like I don't know. Somebody who has like a very like
who thinks they know more about football than they do.
Right. Something like that, where they're just like oh well, let's play this guy here and let him wear down the defense, and then bring in the stronger, faster guy later in the game and just let him run all over guys. But maybe that's a good strategy.
Yeah.
It's actually, in this case, it sounds pretty good to me. So
yeah, I hope it's not.
Sometimes you don't need to overthink yourself.
Exactly.
I hope it's nothing lingering from his injury issues either. You know.
Well, he looked spry on Saturday, didn't he? I mean, he ran. He was.
He definitely had. Yeah.
I mean, he was hitting the holes. I mean, he was playing fast, I thought. So I'm not all that concerned about that. I don't know. Maybe we're just seeing some limitations in his game that we wanted to pretend weren't there before, but they kind of are a little bit. But this is even like, I almost feel bad saying this though, because he's coming off a good game, right? What was his? Yeah. So like, I don't want to be too hard on the guy.
And that's why I think it's important to say, kind of what we said earlier about really the narrative of the season is not that Bo has like played poorly or something.
Right.
It's just that Damien's been fantastic.
Right. Well, for what it's worth, Bo had 7 rushes for 65 yards. That's a 9.3 average, and 21, and his long was 21 yards, and he had a couple others I think that were like over 15.
Yeah.
That's a good game. So I'll take that.
Damien's averaging like 11 yards a carry in SEC play.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this while we're still on the running backs. Is Damien starting to creep into like kind of a low-key Heisman candidate?
Like I don't think there's any chance at this point, unless he just like goes crazy and some of the guys fall off, that he would actually win it.
What about getting invited?
Maybe.
Who are the favorites? If you had to put 4 people.
Saquon,
Bryce Love, that's his first name, right? Bryce, the Stanford running back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield and I don't know. I don't really have a fourth. I don't think there's a fourth that's in the tier with those 3.
That's
Minka.
Yeah. Give Minka the token like defensive player gets invited. I've actually seen that like a fair number.
Yeah.
Every outlet has to have their like straw Heisman poll, and I'm seeing Minka on a fair number of those lists. He's never going to win it because like he's not going to have the counting stats you need as a defender. Right. He's only got like 1 interception, but
yeah.
And he's not going to have the return stats or anything.
Right.
Like
it's not going to be like a Tyrann Mathieu situation.
Yeah.
How about that for a conversation? How good is Minka?
Yeah.
Because I like,
really
and
good.
Yeah, and I actually that sounded rhetorical. But I actually meant it. I meant it very literally. I see some people saying like best defensive player in the country or even best player in the country. Like do you guys think that he's that good? Like is this like best defensive back at Alabama under Saban territory? Is this like
he definitely has to be in that conversation now. Well, it's just insane. Like obviously the versatility was the selling point before, but now it's like he's not only playing all those positions, but playing all of them at an All-American level.
Right.
Which is insane.
Right.
And like he's so great as a pass rusher too. Like when they blitz him, and it's just like he has like more sacks and TFLs than any of the outside linebackers do, which is nuts. Probably wouldn't be true if they had Lewis or Miller, obviously, but I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Is he creeping into like Tyrann Mathieu territory, or are we still like a
doesn't
tier?
seem to have quite the nose for and obviously he's not a returner, so he's never going to get the.
No, I just mean as a defensive. I just mean exclusively as a defensive player.
I mean, I think he's better as a cover guy. Just if nothing else, as a function of the fact that he's taller and longer.
Right.
And therefore better at manning up on bigger receivers. He doesn't seem to have quite the knack for causing fumbles and splash plays that Matthew does. But I do think he's a better sort of traditional defensive back.
Okay. Do you guys? So I use Tyrann Mathieu because in my opinion, Tyrann Mathieu is the most impactful defensive player that I maybe have ever seen in college football. Do you guys put him as high as I do, or?
Defensive back or just defensive? Like
defensive player.
Okay.
I don't know that I would put him above like when you have a guy who's like an absolute wrecking ball on the defensive, like think Aaron Donald or
Jadeveon Clowney in his best year, or Sue.
Yeah.
Sue.
I just think that the opportunity is easier for a dominant defensive lineman to affect the game than necessarily a defensive back.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Although based on the way in which LSU moved him around, they put him in those positions to impact him. I should say this. Sue and Tyrann Mathieu are probably my top two.
Okay.
I don't have.
I'd put him in that, like, if you're making tiers here, I'd put him in the top tier.
Yeah, I guess I'm just interested in how close Minkah is creeping toward that tier.
Yeah. I don't know. It's sort of a hard, because I think for a defensive back to be in that conversation, your coaching staff has to make a really concerted effort to do that, like the LSU coaches did with Tyrann.
Right, Tyrann was the focal point of basically everything that they did.
Yeah, and certainly Alabama put Minkah in those positions. Sometimes, like, they let him blitz all the time. But I just sort of repeat myself. I think he tends to play more traditional defensive back roles more often, so he kind of has less opportunity to be that, like, just game-breaking player.
Right. Very like Clinton Disk acts.
Exactly.
Sometimes, right?
I think he's obviously he like is the, like, prototypical free safety.
Right.
So you rarely see the ways in which he impacts the game.
Right.
And that's not Minkah, but he's more of that than a guy like Mathieu was.
He's not, like, as chaotic, maybe is the right word.
Yeah.
As Mathieu, but he's just so good at everything that he's asked to do.
Yeah. Yeah, he really is having really an incredible season. I thought the defense as a whole, or maybe just to finish up the offense, what did you guys think of Jalen?
Same story.
More the same? Yeah.
Like, that didn't really affect the way I look at his season, I don't think.
I love how they're making such an effort to get, like, all of these freshmen involved.
Yeah. That's the bigger story in the passing game, I think, and we texted a little about this, and I said last week if Foster's not going to turn on the switch after his effort against A&M, then it's time guys like Jerry Jeudy started getting his snaps. Well,
right,
it happened. I think it was an AL.com piece I read that said the three freshmen averaged 29 snaps between them on Saturday, and Foster and Cam Sims were averaged like 19. So, you can only hold off guys that talented for so long. And again, I love that from the beginning they were I think we said before the season, reading about teams like Clemson that rotate their receivers to get them in fresh, and I was like,
right.
You think about the way they did things under Kiffin, where it was really just a set number of guys.
Three guys, yeah.
It was always just three guys.
Every year it was just three guys.
Yeah. So it's so nice to see them getting involved, and it's so nice to see them, the coaching staff, being like, these three are among our top. Like, obviously obviously Calvin is the guy,
right?
But below him, it's the freshmen are starting to separate themselves.
And and like under Kiffin, the slot receiver was basically like a glorified blocker / occasional third down target,
like a
right?
Split H-back.
Yeah, like Mulaney and Garrett Dieter were literally just there to be like, right, like almost like an H-back, just like split out, and we'll throw the ball to them on third down sometimes. But other than that, it's like a waste, right? I remember,
which was odd with Dieter, because like his whole thing coming in was that like he was a big time deep threat,
right,
when he was at Bowling Green.
Right. Exactly. When he transferred, I remember watching videos of him. He's making like one-handed catches on fade routes and shit. And I'm like, man, this is cool. This is exciting. And then he comes here and he's playing in the slot and he's just blocking guys on every play, which he was pretty right. Not that he wasn't good at that. I don't want to give off that impression. But I was thinking, like, can we be like a little bit more creative with these guys? It was frustrating. I remember, so after Alabama, after 2015, Chris Black transferred to Missouri, right? Chris Black transferred to Missouri, and he had some comment about how the system just wasn't right for him, and the system wasn't right for a slot receiver like him. Yeah. And all the fans got on him.
Hard to fault him for that.
Right. Right. All the fans got on him for that. And they were like, what is he talking about? Lane Kiffin uses his slot receiver. They are in 11 personnel on like 80% of their plays or something. I'm just making up numbers here, but they're always in 11 personnel. They're always with a slot receiver on the field. And like, yeah, there is always a slot receiver on the field. There's not a slot receiver on the field being asked to do the things that Chris Black can do.
Yeah.
And I think what you're seeing, I bring that up basically just to sort of illustrate the point that Alabama has a lot of playmakers on this offense, a lot of guys with a lot of potential. And now with Kiffin gone, they're just using more guys, basically.
Yeah.
Right? They're allowing lots of different guys on all parts of the field to be threats.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't really the case, right, under Lane.
Nope.
And Lane, I don't want to knock Lane because Lane did a lot of really good things for Alabama.
Yeah.
But this is one thing where I thought that he almost had kind of a limiting effect at times.
Well, and to be fair to Lane, he didn't really have quarterbacks that could kind of hit every part of the field.
That's true.
I mean, Coker could hit more of the field.
I think we've sort of forgotten last year how kind of limited Jalen was in getting the ball to receivers. But this is like as much as it was sort of a waste of a guy like Dieter's talents. Saban made a comment to the effect of that, besides it just sort of being kind of a pet play of Lane's, part of the reason they ran so many jet sweeps last year is because Calvin and Ardarius were two of their, top 3 or so offensive skill players. Yeah. And when you have a quarterback that's limited in terms of getting the ball down the field, like you need to invent ways to get those guys the ball.
Right. We talked about this a lot in defensive lanes, jet sweeps and screens and everything. That the idea that if you can't stretch the field vertically, you have to stretch it. You have to stretch it at least in some direction.
Right.
You can't just play. You can't just play within a very small box on the field. So you need to then use all 53 or whatever yards, the width of the field, if you're not going to move the defense vertically and force them to play. Because you're not going to be successful as an offense if you don't force a defense to sort of protect against a big area, right?
Right.
So the only way Alabama was going to force a defense last year to protect against a big area was to run these sort of horizontal plays. And you're right. You're right that I totally agree that Jalen had a very limiting effect on the offense last year.
Yeah.
But I also think that at times it was almost too limited, right? They almost
sure, like it could have been more of it. And Saban has said as much to this effect that they were probably limited. You're limited what you can do with, a true freshman quarterback who's not an advanced passer and wasn't taking starters reps, until after the season started, basically.
Right.
But they also probably didn't try, I think we don't say enough how impressive it was that they just sort of threw together a spread option offense on the fly.
Yeah.
But certainly they and Lane could have made more of a concerted effort to develop Jalen as a downfield passer and to open up the offense in different ways than they did.
Yeah. It's also interesting too. I mean, you don't want to put too much stock in the rumors, but I mean, we all heard the rumors that the spread wasn't really Lane, right? That it was more Loxley. And I don't know. I'm not. This isn't. I don't want to sit here and bash Lane, considering he's gone now and he's busy on Twitter campaigning for the Tennessee job. So I don't want to take,
He is running the damn ball at Florida A&M.
I don't know anything about what's going on there.
Averaging 300 rushes. First of all, he's got him like in contention for CUSA like already, and they're running the damn ball. They're averaging like almost 300 yards a game at FAU.
That's awesome. Did you guys see the tweet though that I'm talking about with the Tennessee stuff?
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
It's been hilarious on like when he someone posted something about FAU like doing well in Conference USA, and he made some joke about rat poison.
Like I don't understand, like, but he like tweets about like the good things that the Alabama players are doing and everything. Like, is he being like how much is this like? I never know with Lane, like how much of it is just some big inside joke and how much of it is just him being like earnest. I never know.
Yeah, no, I'm honestly not sure.
There's almost like it's very very hard to tell. He tweets these things about like I don't know. I'd have to go through the tweets to remind myself, but I just remember reading some and then I was like, is he being like serious? Is he trolling? Like, what is his end game here? I just have no idea. It's very mercurial, and I don't know. I don't understand, but it's cool. It's cool. I hope he gets the Tennessee job.
Oh man.
Oh god. What a time that would be.
That'd be amazing. Should we transition to Tennessee?
Yeah.
Did you guys want to say anything about the defense? I don't want to take away from the defense. God, they blitzed a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Rashawn Evans.
Oh my.
Rashawn is a monster.
Yeah. You turn him loose.
Yeah, I think he was probably the major thing on the defense.
I never saw what was the prognosis on Bugs.
Oh yeah.
I think he's fine.
Yeah.
It's just like a day-to-day thing, or
that was on the play with the quarterback, right? When the quarterback was running out or something.
Yeah.
That was a big quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was really.
He was like 6'7", 270.
Yeah, I read a quote. I don't remember who it was from. I think it was maybe Sean Dion Hamilton after the game. I was just reading it on Twitter, and I read the quote and I thought it said, "That is the best quarterback we've ever played." And I had to do I read it over again, and I read the same thing again, and I was like, wait a second, what am I missing? And then I just realized that for some reason I was reading the word biggest as best.
Well, on one of Rashawn's sacks, he had to jump up like it was like a leaping bear hug.
How about that play with Payne, where Payne had him wrapped up and he wouldn't go down, and he managed to throw the ball away? Like that's a big guy. He's really big.
Trying to tackle a redwood.
And he made some good throws.
He did.
Before the half, Sorry, so go ahead.
Yeah, which one are you talking about?
The deep shot right before the half ended. That was a great throw.
Well, when you're that, I mean, they talk about this on the broadcast. When you're that huge, like he didn't have to put his body in the throw at all. And in fact,
he just flicks it.
He was throwing it too hard to his receivers when he was stepping into the throw.
Yeah.
He was just sort of doing that, and the ball would go 50 yards.
That was crazy. So very big. So speaking of end of the half, what did you guys think of the decision there by Arkansas at the 3-yard line or whatever?
To go for it?
Yeah, to go for it.
Well, it was 7? Was it
24? It was 24. It was
24 by then.
It was 24-0. I mean, I appreciate just not taking the token. I appreciate the idea that I don't want to just take token points. I want to actually try to win the game. But still, though, I kind of thought they should just kick the field goal and have something to feel good about going into the locker room. 24 points. When you guys see 24 points, do you look at that as a 3-possession game? Because I really don't, because the odds of making of going 3 for 3 on 2-point conversion is so slim that when I see 24, I don't really look at that as a 3-possession game. So just
by the way, Amari Cooper already has 2 touchdowns in the Thursday Night Football game. This is after I traded him off my fantasy team. So
what did you get for that was a heck of a sell low. What did you get for him?
Des Bryant and
okay, so kind of like a disappointing guy for disappointing guy,
right? Plus something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what random other pieces were exchanged.
Change of scenery for those guys.
Yeah.
In your league. Well, that's
to your question, I mean, it's 3. I don't either because like at the same time, do you really think the opposing team's also not going to score
Right.
like in the next 3 or 4 possessions that you need to
Yeah.
catch up on? So like,
Just from like a football, like I know, like the strategy in this game means so little because the game was over at that point. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that was like really strange. I didn't.
it
I
was
like.
strange, but I liked it.
I mean, I like the idea of like being aggressive and trying to score touchdowns and shit. And
Yeah,
it's like he's thinking like, well, am I ever going to get back inside the 5 yard line in this game? So I might as well just go
Yeah.
for it.
yeah.
But I don't know. I was shocked when they went for it, which is the only reason I'm bringing it up because it's a totally irrelevant play. But the only reason I'm even mentioning is because we need shit to talk about in a game where that was boring as this one, and also because it really surprised me.
Do we know who the third string punt returner is that we might see
That's a
next
great.
week?
So there's a great
Tell me
question.
about it.
That was very ugly. That situation. Those were all like really bad plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and okay, this is how you knew it was bad was because after the game, somebody asked Saban about Ruggs, and Saban was like sticking up, like it's bad, like that a guy's playing real bad, that guy's really screwing up when Saban like goes out of his way to defend him.
Right. Saban doesn't
Like,
do that if it's like
job.
yeah.
So it like the fact that you can tell when Saban thinks that he needs to turn the switch and be positive, like that's usually when a guy is like real low.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Do we have any idea who we'll see? Like,
Well, it's not Calvin because Calvin returning punts last year was a disaster.
yeah,
He couldn't track the ball at all. So it's not him.
I doubt we'll see Trayvon again. I mean, is there any chance that it goes?
I mean, they
back
put
to...
Trayvon. I mean, Trayvon loses the job, gets a chance to go back in, and then right away puts one on the ground. I can't imagine that they would want to throw him in. Well, what did you?
Marks?
That's definitely a thought. But he had some issues last year too, right? Didn't he?
Yeah.
After Eddie got hurt. What did you guys let's put the two fumbles from Saturday completely out of our mind. Before that, what did you guys think of Ruggs as a returner? I don't really have any significant complaints, right? So should you just want to see it as sort of a blip and say, okay, we'll send him back out?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point, like, those are obviously your two best guys in him and Trayvon.
Exactly. So
at some point, you just have to, say, go back out there and do your job.
Right. Right.
I mean,
Instead of
like Cyrus had bad fumble troubles his first year as a returner, and you just put him back out there and say, all right, but catch the ball this time.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. Like instead of sending somebody else out there, the Ruggs could put Ruggs could fumble 5 punts against Tennessee, and Alabama would still win by 3 touchdowns. So maybe it's just more important to sort of just like give him the reps and let him get it right, rather than like put somebody like Xavier Marks or whoever else out there and try to like establish a new guy in that role. Maybe it's better to just like let the guy now work on it. Obviously, like it's an issue because you can't be fumbling punts, but I just think that maybe it doesn't necessitate a change in the way it seems.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to talk about special teams was that the kicker's good.
Yeah.
Like I'm really happy with the kicker, like way more so than I ever anticipated I would be. We said before the first show that we just wanted a Jeremy Shelley type. Well, he's kind of even better than that, right? Yeah. He's still perfect inside 40, I think, this year. And our goal was perfect, I think, inside 35, maybe.
Yeah. Well, he's just since the first game where he had the 2 misses, and everyone said that the turf and the
it was horrendous. Yeah.
Yeah. He's missed 1 field goal since then, and I think it was 40.
A long one. Yeah. Yeah. And he's been really good. His kicks are very clean, right? I mean, like it's not like ugly coming off his foot. I mean, it's very clean. He seems to be confident. Like I feel pretty good about him.
Well, and you look at
within his range.
Other teams. I swear, I hear so many Alabama fans be like, they'll look at Daniel Carlson or some other random kicker from around the country that's really good and be like, they can recruit a kicker. Why can't we recruit a kicker? But look at how many teams even
have no kicker,
are just abject disasters. Like
Right.
even when Alabama had its kicking game at its worst, like Griffith after he hurt his back in 2014
Firsthand, yeah.
or 15, I guess.
Yeah.
He was like 10 of 19 that year. And never like was almost never missing like chip shots. Wasn't
Right.
missing was rarely missing them from like inside 30. Well, Washington missed two like a 21 yarder and a 26 yarder against Arizona State on Saturday. Clemson had a kicker that was already bad get hurt in a freak accident and had to replace him with like a walk on who's terrible. Arkansas made their second field goal of the year against Alabama on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel pretty damn good about Alabama's kicker situation.
This is the best I've felt about their kicker situation. I don't know. I think so. It's the best I felt. I feel better about this kicker situation than I did at any time with Griffith.
Yeah.
And I obviously feel better about it than the 2013 situation with Cade. Despite the fact that it doesn't get talked about enough that Cade made all of his kicks except for one, I think, before the Iron Bowl. So, but Cade just wasn't a great kicker. And I feel better about this than like the Shelley Cade years because I think that Papanowski is better than Shelley.
Yeah.
Right. So I right now I feel better about this than I felt in a long time.
Since what, like Lee Tiffin?
That's what I was going to say.
Tiffin's senior year.
I was going to say since Tiffin. So we're talking what, 2009?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going overboard. Or maybe this just speaks to how bad the kicking situation was before this year. But
I mean, like they're not going to have a guy like, and it's funny to talk about this after what happened to him in the NFL, but like they're not going to have a guy like 2013 Roberto Aguayo.
Right.
If you've got a like reliable inside 45, which I think is something you can say about Papanowski at this point, is like better than the vast majority of college kicking situations.
Right. Quick shout out though to Adam for making a lot of big kicks.
Yeah, that 55-yarder against LSU.
What did he go 4 for 4 against Auburn in 2015?
5 for 5.
5 for 5 against Auburn in 2015. The kick in Death Valley to tie the 2014 game at the end of regulation.
Yep.
So, he made
the
big
onside kick against Clemson?
The onside kick against Clemson. There we go.
That was about as perfect as you could possibly draw it up.
Yep.
Literally dropped right into the breadbasket.
He made in that same game, right before that, he kicked the field goal to tie the game, right, against Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
So, made the big kicks. Missed a lot of not as big kicks, but he made the big ones. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else on Arkansas?
I don't think so.
No.
Anything at all on Tennessee?
They're bad. They're really bad.
Yeah. I don't know. Some part of me is expecting this game to like be closer than it should be. Like, and I don't have a rational reason for that other than, platitudes about trap games and stuff like that. That's just kind of a feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not like this. When's the last time that Tennessee was this bad?
Sometime in the Derek Dooley years.
Were they though? Like that's kind of what I'm asking. Like, were they this bad with Dooley? Because I
don't think the gap was as large as it's going to be on Saturday.
I mean, it's the spread is the largest in series history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not just meaning. Right. So I should clarify. I don't just mean
they were roughly this bad.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't quite as bad as this team, but there was some pretty bad.
So Butch's first year was 2013. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is his 5th year.
Hey, 2011 Tennessee under Dooley was tied with, or 2011 Tennessee was tied with Alabama at halftime with Dooley. Right? Wasn't it? Wasn't it like 6-6?
Yeah.
It wasn't. It didn't go as well for them in the second half, but
Not
it
so
was.
much.
It was tied at halftime. And then 2012 was like 42 to like 13 or something in Knoxville. Yeah. Yeah, those Tennessee teams were really bad.
I feel like Tennessee is going to get a very motivated Alabama team on Saturday.
You think so?
I kind of think so.
Well, that's interesting because that
cigars. I got to go out and buy mine tomorrow.
That sort of conflicts. Well, no, we got a new tradition. Ruben started the new tradition last year. You guys.
Wait, is it shirtless cigars? Is that the tradition?
No, it was Newports. It was.
Oh.
I'm gonna get some Black and Milds.
God, is there a way to show that picture with Ronnie with the $100 bill in his mouth, and I mean, can we find that picture, please? Is there a way to like put that up on the screen? That is like, I love that picture. I love it.
But I feel like that in and of itself is enough to motivate these guys just to be able to do that after the game.
Yeah, there was remember Calvin was trying to film videos on the field last year after the game, and
they
got kicked off.
Was kicking them off
back out there with their cigars, and they got kicked off the field.
Yeah, and that was when we found out that Calvin's nickname on the team was Wild Bill.
Which is, oh my
god. Oh my god. They killed him last year. Holy crap.
Yeah. Saban's got the rivalry angle to use. There's the whole cigars after the game.
Yeah,
That's hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Like the first question he got at the radio show tonight. Nick Saban asked if it's been a good week of practice. I'd rather not comment. Got him straightened out today, though. Which means some dudes got yelled at.
Yep.
There were some ass chewings.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I mean, that's going to happen. This is the part of the season. I feel like this is the part of the season where it's sort of it's kind of natural to lose a little bit of focus, probably
before the bye week.
Yeah. You're leading up to the bye week. You're not playing any competitive games.
Like the newness of the season has worn off, but you're not towards the end where you can kind of ramp up that pressure in terms of anticipating playing for a championship and stuff like that. So
exactly, this is like the war. This is like the worst time. It's Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about Tennessee, honestly.
John Kelly is good.
Yeah, the back is a really good player.
None of the rest of their players are good.
No, they don't have anything else. Is Butch done after this year? He's done, right?
Barring some kind of miraculous turnaround, yeah. Dude, Albert Hainsworth tweeted some weird shit today.
I saw something about that. I didn't actually read the tweet, but I saw that Albert was tweeting something because people were quote tweeting it and shit. And
that's one of my absolute, love that a guy with a reputation like Haynes is a VFL.
I was about to say VFL.
He tweeted, "Great news is on the horizon for us VFLs!" 3 exclamation points. It is just a matter of when! Exclamation point. Thank you, Mr. Haslam, for trying to make Tennessee great again. Which, God. Hashtag VFL.
Okay.
Well, so are they gonna get? Peyton was in Cleveland this week, and maybe he was meeting with the because they're big. Maybe Jimmy Haslam's trying to get Peyton to come back and be the coach of Tennessee.
Can Peyton? Well, you know what? If they do so what about Peyton as the head coach and Albert Hainsworth as the defensive coordinator? Is Albert Hainsworth still in the NFL? He's got to be. He can't be still in the NFL, right?
I think he is.
He's got to be out of that.
Hainsworth has changed his Twitter bio to "I am just glad Mr. Haslam is going to make Tennessee football great again." Big wide-eyed, toothy smile emoji.
So it's just a question of Of do they do it during the season, which at this
Well,
point
right.
seems likely.
If they lose 50-0
Yeah.
on Saturday, like they just
Yeah, I like you especially now that there's the early signing period. I think
right.
you have to, if you
Get
know,
your new coach in.
yeah, you
Yep.
you got to do this as quickly as possible, and especially if it's gonna be Peyton or John Gruden,
Yeah.
if the groomers are true.
The groomers.
Well, it's so funny. It totally comes full circle because when they let Dooley go, there was like all those things like I sat next to some random person, like I sat next to John Gruden on a flight and he was watching video at Tennessee on his iPad. He's coming to Knoxville. It would be funny if then he was.
People were freaking out because he was like at the game. He was like at the South Carolina game.
Yeah.
But it's like his son goes to Tennessee. Like, probably a pretty good explanation of why he was there.
Can you imagine if they hired Peyton or something?
I
no coaching experience.
Yeah, I did not think Peyton would be. I think Peyton is the kind of guy who's way too much of a perfectionist to be a head coach. And I think he would
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
He would not have like the requisite patience.
Yeah.
To be,
there's a very important,
particularly a college coach.
Right. There's a very important note there about the idea of great players struggling to be coaches, because it's just like I remember hockey is not my sport, but I think Wayne Gretzky at one point was the coach of the Phoenix Coyotes maybe, and he had this interview one time where he talked about how much of a struggle it was for him to be a head coach based on the standards that he set for himself as a player, and how you have to totally change your perspective on the game now that you're a coach, and nobody has that. Nobody can do those things. Nobody can live up to those standards that I had previously set, like for myself and my team.
It was like how many great coaches were like truly great players in any sport?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The place where you're going to find the most of that, the place where you're going to find probably the best managers or coaches that were former players, probably baseball. There's a few managers in baseball who were great players, who were even Hall of Famers, like a Paul Molitor or something.
Yeah.
But baseball's sort of different though, because the manager or coach is less involved in
it's a different thing than
right. It's not quite soccer where the guy basically has no in-game control, but it's also not nearly like the other sports in terms of the in-game control that the coach has. But like a great football. I mean, I don't know. I mean, some of these guys.
What do you like? Maybe Steve Spurrier.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was about to say. I was like 2 seconds away from saying Spurrier. Yeah, that's funny.
That's about it.
That's obviously the first guy that's going to come to mind, I guess.
And he wasn't like a great pro guy or anything. And also, man, the standards were so different back then. Like the year he won the Heisman, he threw for like 1,600 yards and like 12 touchdowns.
Was Bear Bryant a good college player? I never even remember this stuff about. He was. I thought he was good.
I don't think he was like was he an All-American or anything? I don't actually know.
I
don't.
What do you say, Mitch?
I said, "Oh gosh, that we don't know this. I don't know."
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, you probably know things about the man, but I don't know. It's also so long ago that I don't even know necessarily what it meant to be an All-American. Like, how good did you need to be?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
He was second team All SEC in 1934 and third team All SEC in 33 and 35.
Well, that's pretty good.
So a good player, but
it's like a good player. Yeah.
He was overshadowed because he was on the same team and played the same position as Don Hudson.
Right. So Payne's probably not going to be the next head coach.
And if you're a Tennessee fan, you probably don't want him to be right now.
No,
he's never coached.
Right.
Which is why Gruden confuses me so much. Like literally, I think he was like a grad assistant for like a year or two maybe, and that's literally his only college coaching experience. And he's been out of coaching period for like almost a decade at this
Yeah, when was the last time he coached? Like 2009 or
It was a
something?
long time ago.
Yeah.
It feels like a long time ago. I know he was the coach of the 2008.
2008. Yeah.
Okay,
2008 was the last time I remember.
that's crazy. Yeah, because they blew the division late. I remember that year. They blew a playoff spot late, and then he just quit. Or no, or was he fired? He was fired?
Uh,
Was he fired or did he just
fired.
quit?
Gruden was fired by the Buccaneers on January 16th, 2009.
And I think if you're Tennessee, you don't want to bring in a guy who has no recruiting experience because it's like
Well,
pretty
that's a
tough.
big, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
pretty tough to recruit at Tennessee, I think.
Well, it's so tough to recruit at Tennessee because Tennessee itself, the state, does not really produce great players. So
And you're
you need
You have
surrounded.
to get a lot of Florida and Georgia guys, and the Georgia part's really hard right now because of what
Yeah.
Kirby Smart's doing.
right. Yeah, exactly. And obviously Saban is a very big factor in Georgia too. You know, and then you've got Jimbo as well. So it's like you're competing with to win these recruiting battles with. So what are you left with at Tennessee? I mean, that's the issue. Like I don't know what the recipe for success going forward is for them. Because how do they get to the point where they're recruiting enough talent to win?
Yeah. Well, and it's not like recruiting has been Butch's problem, really.
Right. Well, Butch has recruited well.
Yeah.
For based on considering the inherent limitations that Tennessee has, like we were just talking about, he's done very well.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not making it out of this year. He might not even make it to next week. It wouldn't shock me if they just fired him.
I would love to be the straw that got a Tennessee coach fired like immediately.
He's
Go
ahead, Mitch.
Well, you know, other jobs are going to open up too, and you want to kind of get ahead of those other jobs. And I mean, it just makes sense to do it.
Yeah.
Sooner. As soon as you know that you're going to do it, just do it.
Right. Right. Or you could do what LSU did, get ahead of the jobs, and then just keep the guy that you gave the job.
And give him a $12 million buyout.
Maybe this is a good time to transition into the rest of the country then, speaking of LSU.
Yeah.
They did us a nice little favor on Saturday. That was what do we make of them right now?
Which, Auburn or LSU?
LSU. Because they're the more immediate concern given the where they are on the schedule.
I still think they don't have the talent in the trenches this year to beat Alabama. You're still not afraid of their passing game. Like for years, the thing that made LSU competitive with Alabama was that they were Alabama's equal essentially on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And even though they're
close enough,
they're playing better now, I still think that deficiency is there. So, I have
we've seen LSU start slowly and then sort of work their way into being a very competitive game for Alabama. It still doesn't feel like that this year. Like I think back to like 2014, for instance. 2014 was when LSU lost to Mississippi State, I think, at home, right? But then sort of slowly they did that, and then I think they got killed by Auburn, right? Yeah, they got destroyed. That's right. They started Brandon Harris at home against Auburn, in Auburn, and they got massacred. So they were looking terrible. But then they sort of pulled themselves out of the fire. They had that upset win at home against Ole Miss. Obviously, they came within a hair of beating Alabama. I don't think we're seeing that sort of recovery, right, from this LSU team. What do you think the line will be on that game?
I don't know. Do you remember what was the line? How much was Auburn favored by in Death Valley?
That's a very good question.
What was it, 17 or was it 10 or was it 10?
It could. I don't think 17 sounds steep. Let's see if I can Google this. Auburn LSU 2017.
I think it was 10.
Let's see.
I'm
Uh,
thinking 17 for Alabama.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that Auburn was 10.
Auburn is a 7-point favorite. I'm seeing at
Hmm.
one place. It was a 7-point favorite.
Okay.
Hmm.
I would say
Um,
probably 14 to 17 points for Alabama at
yeah,
home.
that sounds right. I was gonna say 17. Um, I mean, it could be kind of low scoring, right? I mean, that's not impossible.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
I mean, LSU's gonna play hard. I don't know. I really can't believe that Auburn lost that game, though.
Especially after that first half.
Yeah. They just absolutely like they became so predictable. Like literally
Yeah,
it was just like run, carry on Johnson, throw a deep ball.
yeah.
Like that was their offensive game
Yeah.
plan. That's what they did. Like every single series in the second half. It was crazy.
It was like 16 straight runs on first down or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So where do we see them now in terms of a threat?
Um, I still think they're probably more of a threat than LSU is.
Yeah.
Well, especially because the location of the game is a
Right.
big factor there for sure.
But I don't know. I think especially on defense, you can. I don't know. I'm just gonna bring the house basically every play, run blitz, blitz on third down, and kind of trust your corners to hold up in man coverage.
I don't really see I don't see any team that can challenge Alabama's defense until the playoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and who in the playoff?
That's a separate question, but certainly until the playoff, right?
Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
even Georgia, like they're not.
Right now,
Trump's been fine, but
Both Auburn and Georgia can give Alabama's offense problems,
yes,
but there's just no way those teams are going to really consistently move the ball.
Yeah.
Now who in the playoff? Who in the playoff? I mean, that's I guess the next question.
I mean, I'm not buying JT Barrett as
yeah,
being
we'll see. I guess.
anything more than he's been, but Ohio State has to be in the
I mean,
conversation.
they're the ones that have the talent, and Barrett's played better the last several weeks. Again, they have played nobody.
Right, they're playing
Yeah.
nobody. Yeah,
And it's the same thing every year. He plays well against nobody and
Yeah,
then plays like
when
trash
do
against
they
good
play
teams.
Penn State?
next week.
2 weeks, yeah.
Right. Okay.
They're on a bye this week, which I think is sort of is shitty timing for Penn State that they have to go on the road to Columbus a week after playing Michigan in Happy Valley.
So they play. Wait. So Penn State. Wait. So Penn State plays who this week?
Michigan.
So Penn State is home Michigan, then at Ohio State,
Yep.
Mhm.
and then after that they're at Michigan State.
Yep.
I believe.
Mhm.
That's a tough stretch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we think that there's any chance that, I mean, not any chance, but do we, like, what are the chances they come out of that 3-0?
10%.
I think Bill Connolly had a piece on this today about this stretch upcoming for them, and it was the chances were very low.
They would certainly earn that. They would certainly earn that playoff berth if they could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you consider
Yeah.
Ohio State? Yeah.
S&P Plus gives them a 14% chance to win all three of those games.
Okay. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Do you
They're
consider
also
Ohio
really
State?
high on Ohio State.
Yeah,
Well, right.
That's basically my main problem with S&P Plus is that it overweights blowouts of bad teams too much.
Right.
And that's it because Ohio State has basically played perfect the last like 4 or 5 weeks, but they just like the best team they played was Nebraska, which is just totally mailed it in at this
Yeah.
point.
If you guys had to guess who the 4 teams are going to be right now, this is not who you would put in if the season ended today, but who you think ultimately makes it.
Alabama, Ohio State.
So you do okay. So Ohio State.
I think they probably went out in the Big Ten. I don't know. I don't know in the ACC at this point. That's just like if
Maybe
Clemson
nobody. I mean,
yeah, but then I don't think anybody's going to come out of the Pac-12 either. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Because the Washington and Washington State both picked up a loss. They're both one of them is guaranteed to lose again because they play each other. I think Stanford might beat both of them. USC doesn't look great. They have only one loss. They have to play Notre Dame and then a Pac-12 champ. I don't know. That whole thing's a mess. Somebody will come out of the Big 12, I think. Whether
TCU?
that's TCU, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma State.
well, I guess this sort of harkens back to a text card that you sent us earlier today about the possibility of both Alabama and Georgia making it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what I said there was I think it's very. It's maybe not the most likely scenario, but it's perfectly plausible. Okay, imagine Notre Dame goes undefeated the rest of the way. So that gives another loss to USC and basically eliminates the Pac-12. You'd have to have one of Washington and Washington State win out, which I don't think is terribly likely that either of them will. So if Notre Dame wins out, that puts a loss on USC. It puts a loss on Miami. It also puts a loss on NC State. So imagine that they beat NC State and the NC State wins out, and which I think is very easy to see. I think it's not too difficult to imagine them beating Clemson at this point.
It's so funny about that because wasn't it Cole Kublik who picked NC State?
Yeah, he picked them to be in the playoff, and then they lost to South Carolina the first weekend.
And everybody gave him all this shit or whatever, and now it's now it's whoa.
Are we that down on Clemson now?
If someone's going to come out of the ACC, I think it's most likely to be them, because it's certainly not crazy to think that they Yeah, we might be getting too caught up in the obvious flaws they have, and
I mean, how big a problem do they have at the quarterback position right now?
Well, they're on a bye this week, which is good for them. So if Bryant's ankle heals and he's back from the concussion, then their problem is that he's not a great passer, and their running game is actually only their backs Etienne and Feaster are the two top guys. And they both break off big runs, but their rushing success rate is 50th in the country. It's not that they have a really inefficient running game, and they basically only run well and efficiently when Bryant is running. So, it's easy to see them getting into situations like they did against Syracuse, where things the passing game isn't clicking. And, your defense just sells out to stop him running, and they just don't get a lot going. And then all you have to do is hit a couple plays on their defense. So you can win a low-scoring game. They're probably still the best team in the ACC, but it's certainly I know Florida State's played like crap a lot, but it's I could see them winning that game. I could see NC State beating them. I could see them losing in the ACC championship to Miami. So,
yeah, Miami looks pretty good.
But
that's
okay. Anyway, it's easy. Okay, so imagine Notre Dame wins out, and NC State wins the ACC. So now you've got two conferences knocked out. Now imagine one of the Big 10 or Big 12, the champion has two losses. So you've got a one-loss or undefeated champion from one of those conferences. Let's say 13-0 Alabama and 12-1 Georgia after an undefeated showdown in the SEC championship. And then the other three Power 5 champions have two losses. Like, imagine you end up with a playoff of Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Wisconsin. Not that Wisconsin's going to win the Big Ten, but like Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State.
You think that they would put Georgia in, having lost their last game?
If they play Alabama reasonably close in the SEC championship, after having gone 12-0, and three Power 5 champions have two losses, yeah.
Me too.
Because they probably would have been number 2 coming into the SEC championship, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. It would be 1 versus 2. The national championship would be 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
The SEC championship, sorry, would be 1 versus 2. I agree. I think Georgia makes it in that situation. And I don't think that people could be that upset. The only people that could be upset about that are the people that are going to say it's for conference winners.
Yeah. Except that, but then the committee already showed last year that like that's not
that they don't care about that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The only issue with the only even reason I even doubt it is just because this idea that because they set a precedent last year with Ohio State. But the only issue is just like Georgia would have lost their last game, but maybe they don't care about that. You know, we've seen them not drop teams. Like last year after A&M lost to Alabama, they were still 4, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So they don't really drop teams that much sometimes for a loss. You're right. It probably would be Georgia.
Yeah.
Now,
I think if you wouldn't be likely, like for this year especially where the SEC is so down, and so in that case Georgia's not going to have a lot of great wins. Like the Notre Dame win would be really good in that case, and I think that's part of the reason they get in. But in another year where I think in a case where you don't have 3 2-loss Power 5 champions, that would make things a lot. Because I'm not sure 12-1 Georgia gets in over a 1-loss champ from another conference.
Right.
Unless,
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Yeah. The only scenario I can see that happen is if it's a different year where the SEC is really good, and so Georgia has a bunch of really impressive wins, and they lose to Alabama like last second on a fluky play or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, the SEC is not up enough for that to happen this year.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that Georgia loses to Florida? That game produces some crazy shit.
Exactly. So that's the only reason I would say that there's a chance, because like sometimes weird shit happens at the cocktail party. Like
Florida's bad though.
On paper, if you strip the names off these two teams, I'd say Team G is beating Team F 99 times out of 100. Because Florida has no depth right now.
Yeah.
Like the great credit card scandal of 2017 has just
knocked out their whole fucking roster.
Like a tenth of their roster.
Yeah.
So, and how much does Georgia scare you in that SEC championship then? They're gonna play well on defense.
Yeah, they're certainly like Alabama needs to play its best game, I think, because they're good enough, and especially on defense, that if you screw around and make a whole bunch of mistakes, they'll beat you. If Alabama plays reasonably close to its potential level, I think it's just such a bad matchup for Georgia in terms of
their ability to move the ball.
Run-based pro-style offenses don't beat Alabama.
Right.
And Kirby's upgraded their talent, but they're still not quite there. They're close enough to make it a game, and close enough that if Alabama It's going to be like playing a good Les Miles LSU team.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, like Alabama.
Not like a
Not a
Mettenberg
great
LSU team.
Like Alabama is better, will be favored, should be favored, but Georgia could win that game.
Yeah. What do you think the line will be? 7?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds right to me too. Well,
You know,
yeah, that kind of can't come soon enough. I don't want to wish the season away, but
right? Yeah.
I'm ready. No, I mean I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that can't come soon enough. I guess LSU can come soon enough.
Iron Bowl.
Take those babies. Say again.
Iron Bowl will be fun too.
Iron Bowl will be fun. Yeah, Iron Bowl will always be fun. It's great to beat Auburn. It's great to beat Auburn on the Plains.
Yeah.
So that's.
I will never turn down a win over Auburn.
No. But yeah, I wish there was more to talk about for these actual games.
Yeah, previewing actual matchups and stuff like that.
But I guess I don't really have anything to say about Tennessee.
They're bad. They're gonna lose. Roll Tide.
That's really the most accurate analysis that I think we can produce on this show.
The colors is that throw up orange. It's not that orange that you can sit with.
Just play that on loop for like 30 minutes.
It's that puke inside of a pumpkin orange. I don't like pumpkins.
Watch this game be tied at the half or something, and it's like
something weird's gonna happen. I guarantee you. I would love it if nothing weird happened. I would love it if it's another CBS game this year where Gary and Brad are just desperately looking for things to talk about at the end of the game.
Handy game.
Yeah.
I wonder is
stinkers this year. They have Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Well, this is their issue with they're hurt more than anybody by the idea that the SEC is kind of down this year, right? I mean that's they had their glory days like 2008 to 2000 through 2014 or something, and since then it's kind of it's been slowly getting a little bit worse.
Yep.
Is there any chance? Is Alabama LSU definitely going to be that 8:00 game still? Like, I wonder if there's any chance that CBS moves them off that, just because it's like LSU probably saved that by winning. It saved any chance at that by winning, by beating Auburn.
I don't know, who would they make? Like, what other SEC games are that weekend?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just the week after, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Auburn, Georgia's the week after. Yeah, I don't know.
Score predictions?
$45 nothing.
I'm going to say 41 nothing.
Oh, gosh.
I want to shut out.
I predicted a shutout last week, so
yeah.
I use my one for the season.
Okay. Wonder if we all were going to predict it.
45-6.
2 field goals or a touchdown? Something weird.
No, 2 field goals.
Touchdown and a blocked extra point.
I kind of would prefer that it's a touchdown and something weird.
Yeah, how about 47-6 because they score a touchdown and then Alabama blocks the extra point and runs it back. That's my new prediction. It's 47-6.
I'd rather prediction.
I'd rather 47-6 than 45-0 because I want that blocked extra point run back.
Like they don't even get to enjoy their one touchdown. Like
Exactly,
it's just like
exactly.
immediately.
Give it and rip it away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, 47-6, new prediction. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys the game, and yeah,
get your cigars ready.
your cigars ready, and your Newports in honor of Ruben, and your $100 bills
Ooh.
in honor of Ron.
Yeah, I might have to.
Cash, man. Hold up the cash.
All right.
All right. We'll see y'all next week, and roll tide.
We're all time.
Roll Tide.